Welcome to the Outsmart Burnout podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Zaria Rubin, a functional medicine doctor, an international speaker, and a burnout badass because I've been there myself. After walking away from my own high-stress medical career, I discovered how to break free from burnout to reclaim my passion, purpose, and joy. And now I'm here to help you do the same. From science-backed tips to time-saving hacks, and hopefully some aha moments that just might change your life. So sit back, relax, and let's do this. Welcome to Outsmart Burnout. Today, we're beyond honored to host Dr. Carmen Paredes, a two-time TEDx speaker, 2025 Corporate Leader of the Year, best-selling author, recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Presidential Award at the United Nations, the first Latina VP of a telecom company in Alaska, and the host of Leading Intentionally, a podcast for leadership transformation. Did you get all of that? Carmen champions leading from within, emphasizing self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and psychological safety in order to build effective teams. She's also an inspiring voice on burnout, especially among high-achieving women, and truly understands the toll of always being the strong one on a deep personal level. In this episode, we'll dive into her powerful insights on leadership, resilience, and sustainable success. Wow. Welcome, Carmen, to the podcast.
Oh my God. Can I bring you with me to introduce me everywhere? That was amazing.
Of course, just put me in your back pocket. I'm there. But all of these things are true. They are who you are. They are all of your accomplishments, which are absolutely incredible. And so I know what that means. I know that puts you in the category of a very high achieving woman who probably pushes herself to the limits and who maybe knows a thing or two about burnout. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes. I am so excited to be able to share how to outsmart burnout because unfortunately I went through a very deadly, almost deadly episode of burnout. Nobody needs to get there, but I'm sure we're going to get into the details. But yes, I know a thing or two about why we get there and how to get.
Wow. Okay, yeah. I have actually seen Dr. Carmen speak live, and she's absolutely incredible. And I heard her burnout story, and it literally made my hair curl even more than it already is, naturally. Because my burnout story I thought was pretty dramatic, but it does not hold a candle to your story. So if you feel comfortable sharing with us a little bit about what that was like, how you got to such a point in your career, in your life, because listen, we are rewarded for our hard work and our efforts and our attitude of, I'll just keep pushing and keep going no matter what. We're rewarded for it.
Yes.
And so it can be very hard to recognize that as actually something of a pathological adaptation. We'll get to that a bit later, but how did you go from, well, I'm just a super hard worker, super high achieving, I'm really good at my job, I'm really dedicated, I'm going to ignore all these warning signs to F-bomb, I could have died.
Yes. I feel like I need to give you a little bit of backstory, like how I end up being a high achiever. So I'm a typical Latina who grew up in a third world country, desperately trying to get mom's attention. And so my entire life, I was a high achiever because I thought that by being the best student, by being the best daughter, I'm the oldest of three, by just.
Shocking. You're the eldest daughter. So we did
Yes.
an episode on eldest daughter syndrome a few weeks ago. So you'll have to check that one out. I will put it in the show notes because guess what? I'm an eldest daughter
Yes.
too.
Yes. And so I always was striving to get her approval and didn't get until much older. But what that drove me was, as I said, to always go above and beyond. I wasn't getting her approval, but I was getting the teacher's approval and then eventually my leader's approval. And it just became part of who I was. When I moved to this country, I wanted to nonetheless be at the top. And so, little that I know, the climb was going to be very steep and full of challenges, but I made it. As you said, I became the first Latina vice president at the largest telecommunications company in Alaska. But that didn't come just by sitting and letting things come to me. I had to prove my worth, or so I thought, show everybody that I could do it. I had a very thick accent, still have an accent, but it was really thick when I moved to the country. And I quite didn't fit because I know you guys cannot see me, but I like to dress up. I like to put makeup. I like to wear pink. And in a corporate setting, that could be a little bit off-putting. Also, I have a very strong personality, so I could be intimidating. These are all things that people were telling me. So I was trying to tame my sassiness and at the same time perform double so I could get where I wanted to.
Isn't it amazing the way as women we are told that we are both not enough and too much at the same time?
Absolutely. I guess I never have thought about the dichotomy of that statement, but it's true because that's exactly what it was happening. And it was a lot of pressure to handle. Along the way, with all that happening in my professional life, I have 3 children. I've been divorced more times than I care to admit. And my youngest son is autistic. And so when he was diagnosed with autism, it was severe autism. He didn't speak. You couldn't touch him. It was devastating. I knew that he was autistic from the time he was 18 months old or so, because my brother is autistic. So I kind of
Mm.
had the experience of what it looked like. But even though having the diagnosis was devastating, because no mom wants that. And so while I'm trying to keep up with soccer practice, ballet practices for my older 2 children, and the fact that I wasn't with their dad, so I had to, still be able to keep them whole emotionally. I had to do all the kind of therapies that come with autism, speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA, which is applied behavioral analysis therapy. I mean, all the things, right?
I mean, yes, I know as a mother of a neurodivergent child with high medical needs, that in and of itself, people don't realize is a full-time job. But then you're managing a full-time job and you're a single parent. I can't, I mean, you have to clone yourself. There are not enough hours in the day, and there's not enough of you to go around, really.
Right. And so back then, I didn't appreciate a statement like that because my worth came from being strong. I was always the strong one. I was always the protector. I was always the person who would challenge any obstacle in my way. And this is the key part of my message is I didn't realize I was addicted to the dopamine that came with the rewards of doing my work. Because as you said, work is the most socially accepted drug for high achievers. It does in your brain, and I know you are a medical doctor, so don't want to get, into the mud here, but with my research, because I'm also a nerd, so I research when I get into something, I go like deep. And so what I found out was that what work was doing for me in my brain was the equivalent of what any drug or alcohol would do to somebody else. I was very good at what I did. So obviously I worked hard. I got either a raise, a promotion, or a pat in the back, and it created a dopamine. And like with any addiction, you cannot stay the same. You have to up
You need
it,
more. You need more of it.
continue to feel that dopamine.
Girl.
And it became unsustainable to the point that I had bleeding ulcers. Well, started with migraines,
Oh my
then
gosh.
whole body rash, and eventually I had bleeding ulcers. And so I went to the hospital after I, threw up blood. And the doctor is like, well, we have to do a surgery because you're bleeding internally. And so I remember I asked
Oh
them,
my God.
how many of these have you done? Like I'm dying, right? Like my blood pressure is plummeting. And he's like, well, it's a textbook. I'm like, no, 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 no. No, I am going to call the Mayo Clinic and I'm going to go there. It's like, you're not going to make it through the flight. I'm like, I'm not going to make it in your operation table because you haven't done any of this. So I'm going to take my chances. And so
Wow.
luckily, I was able to get in. I was aged back to Arizona. I got the surgery and if I can count the story, I can help women not get there, which is
Oh,
kind of my mission in a way.
I mean, but you've just illustrated so vividly so many important concepts. So, the concept of addiction to stress and achievement. I think we get addicted to the achievement and rewards. Of course, that's a dopamine thing. And we think of dopamine as like, oh, it's the reward hormone, the feel good hormone from rewards. Well, it's actually the hormone that keeps you addicted to getting more rewards, and you're not satisfied. So I think that's super important to highlight. I think that we also get addicted to having high cortisol levels from high stress because we're used to functioning on that level. And then, anything when it dips below, we don't feel that surge and that rush and that high of like adrenaline and stress and yeah, let's go. And I think we get addicted to that as well. And
Interesting.
yeah, and that can maybe dull these other signals. Almost every episode, I talk about the check engine light. Your body was sending you very loud check engine light signals, and you were taking like duct tape and putting it on top so that, oh, that light is just so annoying. It's blinking at me. I need to cover it up, right?
It's interesting you said that because I had an accident when I was a teenager. I was a cheerleader and I fell from a formation and I basically broke my back. Like my back is totally
Oh my
unaligned.
gosh. Oh
And
my
so I
gosh.
have been with back pain my entire life where my pain tolerance is really high. I don't take medication for it because I don't like to take anything. I don't like to drug myself. I was drugging myself with something else, right? And so a headache, a migraine was just another pain. And so I used to joke like, well, I just trying to figure out which pain do I pay attention to? Do I pay attention to the migraine or do I pay attention to the back pain? And so that's what I think, because that was the first thing, the migraines, it would not go away. And so I will be presenting, giving full bore meeting presentations. Nobody would tell that my head was killing me. But I think, I attribute it to the fact that I have high pain tolerance.
Oh my gosh. It's so interesting that you say that because as a teenager, I also had very serious spinal surgery and back pain and chronic pain issues. So interesting. I had not connected those dots that when you are exposed to chronic pain as a child and you get used to being in pain, it becomes your new normal and you're willing to tolerate so much. And that actually reminds me of, don't know if you haven't checked out the book Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. It's a new book that just came out. It's a tell all. She's a whistleblower for her time at Meta. It's a fascinating book. Highly recommend it. And it's very well written. But at the beginning of the book, the first chapter is devoted to when she was a teenager and she survived a shark attack and the doctor sent her home with a few stitches, but inside they did not fix her. It had gone all the way through her intestines. She was bleeding internally. She was in septic shock, almost died. But her parents were like, "You're fine. Stop complaining." And so this just resonates for me on so many levels of as women, as our suffering, our pain, if we're just told that it's fine, it's normal, suck it up, just keep going, then we do. And we learn to tolerate and tolerate and tolerate. And then we become, the frog in the boiling water, which is the other thing I always talk about because it's so salient in these circumstances of the heat is being turned up
Slowly.
1 degree at a time. And we don't notice that we're boiling alive.
Yes. Yes. And so then the next thing was the rashes. And it was literally, I'm going to say in Spanish because I don't know the term in English, but
Like
as a
hives,
doctor,
like a
it was urticaria.
Yeah,
Basically,
hives. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
but it was like it started with my back, but then before I knew it, it was everybody, everywhere in my body. One time I was in a meeting, my face was itchy and go to the bathroom, and like completely. When I say completely body rash, because it got to that point. I did take some Benadryl for that, and it kind of again duct tape it.
Right. Right. And that, I mean, that's like a huge red flag siren that your immune system is in overdrive, that the inflammatory levels in your body are in overdrive. I mean, yeah, actually urticaria is the technical medical term, so you're right on. That's like, yeah, that doesn't happen for no reason.
Yes, yes. And then eventually, the ulcers, which were bleeding.
I can't even imagine. I mean, you were probably drinking coffee, coffee, coffee all day long.
I still drink coffee. I remember the doctor said, "You need to give up coffee." And I said,
No.
"No, I'm not going to give up coffee. But I will control my stress." So it's funny that you were talking about being addicted to cortisol because I never have thought that. And as a menopausal woman now, my little sister, is a doctor, and I keep all my texts to her are, "How do I reduce my cortisol?" She's like, "You know the answer to that. Meditate, do yoga." I'm like, "None of that works."
It's so tricky. So this is another thing that I'm fascinated by, and that is the intersection between perimenopause and burnout. Because I feel like as women, what got us here is not going to get us there. And all the systems that we've relied upon, we've allowed ourselves to get used to these high stress levels. And maybe it worked in our 20s and 30s, but once you get into the 40s, the wheels start to come off and we start moving our hormonal system from an ovarian system to an adrenal system. And if your adrenals are already in overdrive with the cortisol, with the stress,
Yes.
well, it's a perfect storm.
And the other thing that happened is I am a night owl. I am wired that way.
Oh,
And
same girl, same.
I thought there was something wrong with me. My daughter is the same way until I read the book, The Power of When. Cannot remember the author, but
Oh,
it's
is
a
it about your chronotype, like finding
yes,
your chronotypes?
yes.
Yes.
So I'm a wolf.
Yes.
I think I write my keynotes. I'm writing my book all at night. In the morning, until I have my second cup of coffee, don't ask me many questions. But because I was working in a corporate structure, I had to be in the office at
Yeah.
8 in the morning, which means that most nights I got 4 hours of sleep.
That's wildly insufficient. Yeah.
So, and so the spiral cycle, downward spiral of, because it's like the more I didn't sleep, the more coffee I needed to drink, which wasn't helping my stomach, but also wouldn't let me sleep because it was coffee in the morning, then even in the afternoon, so I can make it through dinner, so I can make it through homework. And then by the time it's 10 o'clock, of course, I'm right away. And so I have to work, and I will be working on work things until like 2 in the morning. And it's like, I should go to bed. And so it
That's
was
the
a complete
tired but wired phenomenon that we see
yes,
so often in
yes.
women and in perimenopause and in burnout, because you can't shut it off, but yet you're on all the time, but you're not really on. You're forcing yourself to kind of go through the motions and
Oh,
be
yes.
supercharged with coffee and stress, which is not sustainable, as we know. Well,
It's not sustainable. And that's what I think understanding that even though I got a surgery and even though I was fixed physically, I needed to do something more, something different to be able to really heal myself because this could happen again.
yes.
And when I talk about the addiction to work, I think for me, that was the key piece of awareness that facilitated my transformation because I understood that anything I do is an addiction. This is how my body is wired, right? That's what people who are addicted to alcohol need to go to AA because they cannot drink a little bit. And so, what I have noticed through my healing journey and after all these amazing things I've done after my corporate life is that at the beginning, I did my first TEDx and then I came back And I'm like, now what? Now what? So I felt like I needed to do so much to like quit.
Yep.
And it took me a lot of self control, mindfulness, all the things I talk about to outsmart the burnout, to be able to sit uncomfortably with myself, enjoying the moment. It's not like doing nothing, but like not feeling like I have to do. And the do could be cleaning. Like I remember I came back from Zimbabwe and I was cleaning the house like my mom was coming to visit. And then I had to catch myself and say, what are you doing? Stop. Stop. Like celebrate the fact that you just did a TEDx talk and do nothing. And so that awareness, it's so key because understanding why are you burning out? It's not the work. It's not the actual physical work. It's something in how you are interpreting your need to work.
That's a very interesting perspective, that it's not necessarily the work itself. It's the way we're approaching it and our attitude and our self-sacrifice in a sense. I mean, I truly believe that as a physician, that that was my job, was to sacrifice myself in the name of my work. And the more I sacrificed, the happier I would be. That's in quotation marks, because I was doing so much service. So why was I so miserable? I couldn't figure it out. So how did you figure out ways to prevent burnout? I know that you have developed some methodologies and you have your 5 guiding questions that you have for leaders, and talk to us a bit about some of the tools that you use now to both kind of catch yourself and also to help the teams and the leaders that you work with.
Yes. So the first one is to, as I was kind of alluding earlier, to understand the reason you feel compelled to keep working. I wasn't going to get fired if I put a boundary in my work schedule and say, I have things to do. I'm going to work 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day. I mean, it could be up and down depending on the season, the projects, whatever your work is, right? But like, I didn't have any boundaries around it. But understanding that, of course, my employers were extremely happy that I was a superwoman, developing and delivering results like nobody else. They weren't asking me to do that. This was all self imposed.
Right.
And so, why? A lot of journaling, a lot of mindfulness. When I mean mindfulness, I refer to sitting with myself and my thoughts, being comfortable with my uncomfort.
Mm.
What is that I need to numb? And again, when you equate it to an addiction, people drink because they are trying to numb something. People eat because they are trying to numb something. People,
Scroll.
yes, right? What are you trying to numb?
Yeah.
Right? And for me, shockingly, the thing I was trying to numb was 7-year-old little Carmen desperately trying to get mom's approval.
Mm.
It all went back to them. So doing the work to understand what is that thing that drives you today,
That's so interesting.
right?
Because you talk about getting to the root cause. So that's something that, we focus on in functional medicine. It's not just about treating the symptoms. It's not just about the diagnosis. It's about what is at the root of this. What are the dynamics that set this up? What are the imbalances that set this up? And when we talk about burnout, I don't think that we focus very much on childhood trauma. It's not something that comes up in HR. It's not something you're going to put on your resume. And yet, research does show that this is a significant risk factor. I also have a long history of childhood trauma, and I think it does drive us in some ways for that safety and that approval and that acceptance and that constant cycle of achievement and reward.
And you know what's funny? There's been times where I mentioned the childhood trauma in keynotes where there is probably half men and women, or mostly men. And they give me the look. And I'm like, don't give me the look because we were all raised by imperfect parents. And trauma doesn't mean that you got beat up or abused
No.
sexually or you put in the closet or
Exactly.
trauma means that you interpret something in a different way. Because if you ask my siblings, they think I'm crazy because they think I was the favorite. They think my mom will do anything for me. The way I remember it is different. And their traumas, I'm like, what are you talking about? That never
Yeah,
happened.
it's the way our child's brains interpret external circumstances and try to find safety and try to find these adaptations and compensations and really survival modes. And we all have different ways of doing it. And they can be adaptive in the moment and then become maladaptive over time and, end up in eventually burnout.
And so trauma is just an emotional imprint of a moment in time, right? And so when you put a 7-year-old, it normally happens between 4 and 7, the really, really deep wound. Imagine, I mean, like, what are the executive function capabilities of a 7-year-old? Not very much, right? And so it all goes down to primary ways of feeling nurture and love. And there's 5 languages of love. I mean, as an adult, we have problems like that with people because I remember one of my ex-husbands, he liked physical touch. I don't like physical touch. My love language is words of affirmation. Hence, I got traumatized because I never got that from my mom. Right?
Disconnect. Yep.
And so there's that. And so there's so many modalities that I wish people would be more open to. There's no right or wrong. Like the truth is not just medicine or just spirituality or just mindfulness, or we have to get them all together, put them in a pot and make soup with it, because that's where every little piece has a little bit of truth. And I think that's what's helped me. So after really having an understanding of why I was burning out, I had to start protecting my energy. And when I talk about that, talking about the little older modalities, is that we are energetic beings. And when we interact with each other, we are affecting each other's fields. This is quantum physics. You can read about it. I think it's mainstream now. And so I wasn't aware before I burned out how people were affecting my stress level just by their presence. And so, one very easy practice, and I do every day of my life, I do it for my kids, I have taught them how to do it, is to ground themselves and just set the intention that no bad vibes are going to come into their field.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything crazy. It's intention and grounding. If you live in a place where you can step outside barefoot, that's why I drink my first cup of coffee in the summer, because I live in Alaska. So in the winter, it's a little more difficult. But just connecting to Mother Earth, which can ground you naturally. And that helps you be able to have control of your own energy and not be influenced by other people. So that would be like the third step there.
I love that. I think it's so important to find ways to regulate our nervous system, control our energy sources, and really protect that, because there's so many things in the outside world that are going to come at us. And if we absorb all of them, we're going to be in trouble. So, gosh, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the phrase that you coined, leading from within. What does that mean for you? Why does it matter so much in today's workplace?
I like to say that in order to lead others effectively, which is what all leaders want to do, you have to learn to lead yourself exceptionally first. Going back to the childhood trauma, that thing that happened to everybody when they were a kid dictates how you show up in every situation of your life as an adult.
Mm.
So we are constantly, unless you've done a lot of work on yourself, which I can tell you have,
Yes.
and I have to, you are most likely showing up everywhere in survival mode. Your amygdala is engaged all the time, and you're losing connection to your prefrontal cortex. So it's almost like if you are always expecting that a predator is going to attack you and you're the prey. So we're breathing shallow. We are on the defense all the time. And the disempowered version of you is showing up to play. When you lead from within, you have been able to access your elevated self. It's like the two sides of the coin. You have the part that's protecting you. I mean, that's the job of the brain, protect you, survival.
Yes, exactly.
And then you have the part of you who can do better, who can show up with a better light. And so doing that work is what I call leading from within. Being able to be aware of when do you get triggered, who triggers you, why is this happening, and choosing to create the bridge between that version of you and the elevated version so you can influence, inspire, motivate anyone around you.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful to get out of that reactive mode and survival mode into intentional, proactive mode of making conscious choices rather than just reacting all the time. But all this stuff that you talk about, it's very personal, it's very vulnerable. How do you integrate that into sort of corporate culture, which doesn't tend to honor or respect or appreciate that?
I was always a rebel. I have always been the rebel. And
Yes.
and it took me a while to accept that that's my superpower. I always had the most achievers, the highest performing teams. I was the only one burning out, by the way. They were not, because
Of
I was
course.
very protective of their energy and their health and their well being. I should have done that for myself, but I didn't. And one of the things, these things that I talk about, I actually learned and implemented as I was leading. So knowing my disempowered self and getting to know my elevated version, I also learned that everyone has a different one. So I created something called exceptional leadership archetypes, which is 9 archetypes. And I was able to see in my teams that. So when I spoke to them, when I assigned tasks, when I was working on their career plan, I was always aware of which archetype they were, how I would motivate them, inspire better, what will burn them out, what would fuel their own fire so they can perform better, be committed, connected, have purpose with their work, and always help them to be on the elevated side. So because I was doing great things, they kind of, I mean, the leaders that be ahead of me didn't care so much what I was doing. And I never had anyone quit on me. Not once. In 25 years, nobody quit on me, which is something that I don't think most people can say.
No, that's very impressive.
And so even like I moved positions and they will come with me. Right. And so once I got to probably director level, at that point I had enough autonomy that I could do whatever I want. Basically, when it came to leadership, how I managed, led my team. And so it was at the beginning a little bit of, I just asked for forgiveness instead of permission. And then later on, I started doing it not only with my teams, but cross functionally and my peers. And it became the thing. Like everyone knew that that was the kind of leader I was, and they wanted to know.
Amazing. Is there a way that we can access these leadership archetypes?
Yes, I have a quiz on my website. It's free. It's 10
Fantastic.
questions. So it takes you like 90 seconds. And it's
Perfect.
at exceptionalleadershipsolutions.com/quiz.
Okay, we're going to definitely put that in the show notes for people. But so we've talked so much about high achieving women and burnout, and we know that high achieving women experience burnout at much, much higher rates, 60% or more higher rates than men. What do we do about this?
This is part of my mission, right? Educate women to understand that we have nothing to prove. Again, I believe because of my experience and what I've seen that 9 out of 10 times burnout is a self-imposed sentence because we're trying to prove that, yes, I can be the wife. Yes, I can be the mom. Yes, I can be the leader. Yes, I can be the professional. And I deserve it. I'm quotation that, right? I deserve it. It goes really down to that self-worth and the conditioning and the programming that we had in society that we cannot have your cake and eat it too. I've always said I'm going to write that book because I am going to have my cake and I'm going to enjoy it with a
Yeah,
glass of wine.
of course. And I feel like as women, that burnout is a little bit the price of silence, of not speaking up, of not listening to ourselves, of not taking care of ourselves.
This is especially for moms. If we would take care of ourselves, I would say a tenth of the way that we pay attention, care,
Our
and love
kids.
our children, I think
Yeah.
we'll be on the other side of burnout already.
Yeah. I mean, come on. We know how to do it. We just know how to do it for others.
Because of the guilt. So every bad feeling that we have goes down to guilt or fear. It's true. And so I don't know you, but like I had the worst guilt trips ever. If I was at work, I was feeling guilty I wasn't with my kids. If I was with my kids, I was feeling guilty I wasn't at work. And I never felt guilty about not taking care of myself.
Right. We don't.
But
Because
maybe that was so buried that I didn't
yeah,
want to.
well, because we're invisible as moms, we just suffer in silence, but we're here to change that. So
We're going to
speaking
change.
of which, you have also helped a lot of Latina leaders overcome visibility challenges. And talk a little bit about the intersection with burnout and the pressure to perform and being in the minority and being invisible. And how do you address that?
Latinas are Latinas and Latinos. The Latin culture is wired, genetically speaking, as hard workers. We work hard. I remember my grandfather going to the farm from 6 in the morning to 6 at night, herding the cattle, doing the hard works all the time. My grandma was at home, but she was doing heavy things with, I don't know, 10 kids. Imagine
Right.
that, right? Like, I'd much rather be in the farm.
Farm sounds easy compared to 10 kids.
So we are wired with that hard work. And I'm not saying other cultures not. But then we come into this country as less than.
Mm.
And that activates that survival mode of, oh, maybe my way to be noticed, to be recognized, to be accepted is to work harder because I know I can, because it's what we were bred to do.
Mm.
And I want to emphasize accepted because I remember when DEI became a thing, I was really conflicted with it because as a highly educated woman, I didn't want anything handed to me.
Sure.
All I wanted was the opportunity to be able to get it, to have the same cars dealt than the rest, to be accepted so I could earn my way there. And so I was conflicted because I thought people are going to think like if I got this or that was because I was a woman over 40, a Latina over 40. And so I remember that probably activated all kind of other things in me because
Sure.
I didn't want to be perceived as like they gave it to you.
Yep.
And so I think visibility for Latinas particularly it's hard because we have so many bias going against us outside. And then we had all this internal turmoil of years and years of programming of you are not good enough, you're not accepted. 2 generations ago, the first immigrant, I'm a first generation Latina here. I'm the one
Yeah.
who came. Piece of cake comparing to like 2 generations ago. But that generation that came to the 2 generations ago, they didn't speak Spanish to their kids because they didn't want their kids to be tagged as Hispanics.
Mm,
They wanted them to fit in, to be accepted. And so, what does that do to you? That part of me needs to be silenced. It's not good enough to show it. And so, therefore, there's something wrong with it.
mm.
And so, there's a lot of internal work that needs to happen to heal that and be able to say, you know what? I'm just going to show up like this because this is the most powerful I can be because this is my authentic self. I'm a hugger. I'm loud. I'm passionate. I'm sassy. And
Yes,
that's who
girl.
I am.
Yeah, I feel you. Yes, as a loud Jewish New Yorker on the West Coast, I frequently don't always fit in to societal norms, and that's okay. We have to be who we are and embrace those superpowers, what make us different, what make us unique, and what make us inspiring to other people. And I think that that's something you talk about when you help teams and you help leaders become inspiring to their teams so their teams don't burn out. You have developed some tools. Tell us a little bit more about the CARES leadership framework and how you've helped with people with setting boundaries and having these intentions and ways that teams and leaders can outsmart burnout.
So make everything into a framework because it's easy to remember
I
for
love it. I
people
love
who miss.
in medicine, we're all about the acronyms and about the
It's
mnemonics.
just
So
easy to
yes.
remember, right? So this is what I spoke about in my first TEDx talk, which is a very good talk if you're gonna go watch. It talks about the burnout and the childhood trauma and the addiction. But at the end, I said a way for leaders to help their employees to avoid burnout is by caring about them. And so the CARES framework is compassion, right? We need to
Yeah.
be human. There's another person on the other side of that project who might be dealing with relationship problems. Maybe their kids are sick. Maybe they have financial trouble. Maybe a parent is elderly. We don't know what they are
Yeah.
dealing with. Just have a little bit of compassion for the other human being on the other side.
I think that's so important. It's important for leaders to show that and not just necessarily maybe show that to that one person in private behind closed doors, but model that because I think burnout literally it starts from the top down. And if we're modeling as leaders, like, I don't have emotions. I don't have needs. I don't care. I'm just a machine and a robot. We're expecting burnout to be solved from the bottom up. It's the individual's problem. It's the person's problem. It's the woman's fault. It's a cultural, institutional, societal framework that we need to address from all sides. So I love that.
You gotta lead by example. One of the things I just want to add this commercial here. One of the things I used to do as a leader is my calendar was open to my team. They knew at all times what I was doing, whether it was taking my son to speech therapy or picking my daughter from ballet or going to an IEP meeting or, talking to the
Wow.
principal because my oldest son was in trouble
Wow.
because we're humans. And what I
Yeah.
was modeling is I understand you have a life. I want you to take care of it because I don't want you sitting here worried about that you didn't take care of that or feeling guilty
Right.
because you didn't go to your little kid ballet performance. And we can also deliver the results,
Exactly.
right?
Oh,
So that's important to do. And so there's compassion, authenticity, which is what we're talking about. Like, show your true colors, have integrity. If you say you're gonna do something, do it. Lip service people because they know, right? Give them the resources to be able to navigate whatever it is that they're going through. So some resources could be education for their career, and others could be mental health. Advocate for them. Not all companies have it yet. Not all companies have employee resource group. Not all companies have mentoring programs. And so when we sit there trying to get somewhere and we spin the hamster wheel, it creates all kind of stress that is unnecessary. So as a leader, I think it's your job to advocate for your team to have those resources. And then empowerment. And I actually talk about empowerment a lot in my keynotes. And empowerment is not delegation. People think like, oh, I'm going to empower you by giving you all these things to do. I talk about empowerment not as stepping away, but letting them to step next to you. And you guys are going to lead together. It's a team. So you are going to help them get to the point where eventually you can step away. But at the beginning, if you do that right away, you're setting them up for failure. And then support. Like, what other ways can you support them emotionally, professionally, as human beings? It's really simple. It's just be a good human.
Be a good human. Yeah. Be real and offer people help and the resources they need. And I think that so many leaders or workplaces, it's like you're expected to somehow memorize some sort of employee handbook or know HR incentive. You might not know what's available to you. And it's, the sort of open-ended, well, if you need help, just ask. But people are not going to. So we need to show them and tell them, hey, did you know about this is available and this is available and this is available? Make use of it. Don't
You
be
need to be
ashamed.
you need to be curious as a leader and learn
Mhm.
to listen to the silence. That's one of the chapters in
Ooh.
my book. Listen
Oh,
beyond the noise, because silence is never empty. It's full of things that people are still not comfortable with telling you.
yeah.
And when you learn to read the silence, that's when you really can elevate your leadership and anticipate things, but also like you know what to offer them because you know what they are not telling you.
It's when the kids are silent, that's when you have to worry.
Uh,
There's marker all over the
mhm.
walls.
Yes. The
Silence
power always be like,
silence does not necessarily mean everything
that
is
everything is
okay.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I could keep talking to you for another 2 hours, Carmen, because I feel like we have so much in common, so much synergy, so much in common in terms of our mission and purpose about helping women really thrive, be themselves, be authentic leaders, be successful without burning themselves out, without sacrificing themselves in the process. So I love this conversation. I want people to know more about how to find you, get in touch with you, discover you. Tell us all the things about where we can get in touch with you and possibly work with you.
Yes, thank you so much. I would say the best place to connect is LinkedIn, is where I am the most active. And my handle is at I am Carmen Paredes. But it's also the same handle for Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Um, yes, I
Yeah.
put a lot of content, a lot of free tips and motivational, very authentic. This is what people said. I would show you my happy and my sad days so people
And we should head to
understand.
your website to get some more free content and to take that quiz, right?
Yes. So the website is exceptionalleadershipsolutions.com/quiz is where you will find it.
Okay. And you have a podcast.
And the podcast is in YouTube at I am Carmen Paredes. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. This has been an unforgettable conversation. Thank you, Carmen, for showing us how authentic leadership starts. It starts with looking inward and really acknowledging that if we neglect our inner world, we're going to sabotage both our well being and our teams. So, if this conversation resonated you, if you felt the burden of trying to do it all and do it alone, then share it with somebody. Share it with a friend, a colleague, maybe your HR department, and leave us a review. It always helps us get the podcast out to more people. And I'm actually going to share a review from one of our listeners, Kelly. Thank you. Thank you. Wanted to give her a shout out for this review. She said, Outsmart Burnout is uplifting and empowering. Dr. Zaria shares her powerful insights and experiences that will help you navigate the complexities of burnout. The guests she has on bring a diverse range of perspectives and tools to help you transform your life. I highly recommend. Thank you, Kelly, for that review. So if you leave a review, your review could be the next one that we read online. So thank you for tuning in, and make sure to head to my website at www.drzaria.com to get my free download, which is the Outsmart Burnout Toolkit, which is full of tips and guides and a checklist to find out exactly where you're burning out and what you can do about it. So until next time, remember, burnout is not your destiny. It's your wake-up call.